for Success Express, your business, career, and financial radio magazine. Hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to have San Diego employment attorney Ward-Heinrichs back on Big Blend Radio today. He's going to give us an update on the recent expansion of the California Family Rights Act and also a couple of other new requirements for small businesses in California, and that includes sexual harassment training and child abuse reporting and training for businesses. Very important. Every year he gives us an update of all the new laws. And of course, new ones are coming. It's just, new administrations, whether it be federal or state. What he's talking about today definitely affects California. So if it affects a small business, it's going to affect the employees as well. He's got an article up right now about it on blendradioandtv.com. And, he's a regular here in Big Blend Land, and you can find his articles in Big Blend Radio and TV magazine and in Parks and Travel magazine, which is for the hospitality and tourism industry. And the thing to do, though, is to go to his website, bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. So welcome back, Ward. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. The weather around here just broke. I mean, it's been cold. We had a little rain last week, which we love. But now it's just gorgeous and sunny, the right temperature, and so that always helps my mood, and I'm feeling good.
It feels like spring. Today we're recording this. I know it's airing on Sunday, right? We're recording this, what's today? Thursday? And it's airing on Sunday while we're in Florida. But here in Indianapolis, where we are,
there's snow.
It's spring. There's a little bit of snow. It's melting, but the birds are going berserk. Like,
they're singing.
It's time. It's mating season. Everybody's ready. The Canadian geese are flying over like when we were here in September. It's like we were in that shift of season. Everybody's happy. It's like, let's go out and be friends. I feel like it. The joys of spring are here. So no more winter snow, especially for Texas. Leave Texas alone. They've had enough. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
They've had enough, for sure.
Yeah, I saw something on LinkedIn today that it showed a very sunny scene, and it said, Texas hasn't seen you for a while. Welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
So,
cool. Yeah, Denison, don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Texas. But yeah, today's, everything is about California. So these new laws and these expansions, so this is a state thing, right, for everything we're talking about, not regional, but like regional and statewide, so not national.
These are California laws.
Okay, so we touched on the expansion of the California Family Rights Act the last time you were on the show, giving the update for all the new laws for 2021, but it seems to be getting deeper and deeper, right? And you said you wanted to cover this because you said this is affecting people now.
It's a huge change. The law used to apply for businesses that had 50 or more employees, and it was a very similar legislation to FMLA. So if you can imagine, FMLA, which only applies to 50 or more businesses that have 50 or more employees, CFRA, the California Family Rights Act, was really similar, had more protections in some areas, but very similar to FMLA. But if you can imagine FMLA applying to smaller businesses, that's what we're talking about. And that's a big burden. It was a big enough burden for larger companies, but for, people who have 5, to me, that's just heavy. Yeah. Now, it's good that these employees get this. They can get 12 weeks off a year of unpaid leave for various things, mostly serious health conditions, but some other things as well. And so that's good. But, if you have 5, 10 employees, can you really afford to have someone gone for that long? That's important to your business. Pretty tough stuff, I think, for small businesses. I just, I try not to be political, and I try not to advocate for legislation one way or the other when we're doing these interviews. But I got to say, this just seems tough.
So if you are a small business, and we know so many, hotels and restaurants, and I'm thinking of hotels in particular, that have reduced down because of COVID. Now you're already running understaffed, and somebody takes off for 12 weeks. and you have to bring in staff to keep your business running, are you supposed to let that staff go when the other one wants to come back? What do you do?
Oh, yeah. So you have someone temporarily taking that position.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
The larger companies, by and large, would just try to make it work, depending on how important the person was to the business.
Yeah.
But they might not get a replacement because they had enough people where they could kind of you take this, and kind of divvy it up, and maybe those people aren't that happy about it, but they could do it. When you're this small, that's really tough to do, and you're right. You really might you either have to let things go that you don't want to let go, or you have to get someone in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when it's time to come back, they have the person who left has the full right to come back. Now, it's not. There are exceptions to that rule, but it's mostly if you leave on this leave, you're allowed to get your job back.
Wow.
Oh, so that could be a whole other thing too. And I think what's also, because it seems that so many things have happened to small businesses right now. Number one, just trying to stay open. The whole COVID, everybody's different depending on what your business is. So I have to say that. But also, small businesses are dealing with the minimum wage increases. So this kind of adds to that a little bit. I think.
True too.
So it's kind of like this. I agree with you. The employees do need to have these kinds of I don't even call it a benefit. It's like when people say Social Security is a benefit. It's something we all paid into, right? So
exactly.
There's something that this is just it's a rights act, which means that hey, if a parent-in-law is passing away, and I think even in these times like COVID right now, that they need that. People are dying because of COVID and other issues, obviously, or sick, and maybe you're the only person who can help them, and you need to go and do it. So it's kind of this. It's a double-edged sword, but I wonder about when these kind of bills happen. There needs to be something in the middle, and I think we've lacked this in our country. Something that bridges that gap between helping the employee and helping the employer at the same time. For when it gets down to the nitty-gritty of these small businesses, there should be some kind of help or assistance, just like, a lot of people get assistance, and I think small businesses get kind of left out a lot of times.
Oh, tons.
It's interesting that you mentioned a minimum wage, and that's I've seen it in California where prices at restaurants have gone up, and I talk to some of these guys, and they go, well, there are costs of food have gone up too, but they also say, the cost of labor has gone up. So, you do see it, and minimum wage is a really hot button at Washington, D.C. now, because inside the new COVID relief bill, they've proposed a $15 an hour minimum wage for the entire country.
Yeah.
And wow. That will be a dramatic increase for places like Wyoming, South Dakota, all those places. Not so much for New York and California, but so it's interesting, but it does add more cost, no doubt.
And I think a lot of employers are going to not employ extra people because of those kind of laws, because it gets too much. Really, it's too I like the minimum wage going up. It sounds really good if you're not an employer. If you're someone that's going to go to work, you want as much as you can get, and employers want to pay as least as they can. So there you are. Right there, you're off on the wrong foot in a way. Is it about you getting paid what you're worth, or, I don't know.
Those are interesting questions. A free marketer will say, well, you are paid what you're worth by letting the free market determine what the price of labor is. So it's the bargaining negotiation. Really what happens is it's not really so much negotiation. Unless you're in a union, then there's true negotiation. But it's like, all right, I can work at this gas station for $7 an hour, but there's another job over here at Kmart for 13.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what drives the wages. And then maybe the guy at the gas station has to increase the wages in order to compete with Kmart. And maybe, it's more complicated than that because our economy is so multifaceted. But really, that's what happens. And so the more quality jobs you have, the higher the wages are just going to end up being.
But when they talk about minimum wage, are they doing the research? Hi, federal government, how you doing? Are they doing the research on, okay, it costs this much for basic living expenses in this state, and it costs a little bit more over in this state, and it costs way more over in this state, so we're averaging out. So maybe if you're in a state that doesn't charge as much or not as expensive, you get a little bit more, but if you're in it because you're not getting what you need to actually pay your rent or actually
California,
live.
it's expensive too.
Yeah,
just saying.
California, New York, they're expensive states.
Yeah, and
I mean, do they do that?
Where I live, well, I don't know how much homework they do on it really, but the way it ends up working out is it doesn't look like they do to me, because when you talk about even $15 an hour in California, at 40 hours a week, you're talking like $600 a week.
Yeah.
And I don't, so that's $2,400 a month.
Yeah.
And I don't know how people could live on that here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So does it really make a difference? Well, it does make some difference, especially if you have two wage earners and maybe you have roommates and all this stuff. So it could make some difference that way. But in terms of saying this is going to guarantee a livable wage, I just don't see that it does.
Either do I.
I think it's really more political. A lot of people like the idea of minimum wage, and so they vote for it and encourage the legislature to pass things like that. It's always been popular. I mean, ever since the New Deal, it's been a popular idea. Not everyone likes it, but there's enough people who do like it that you just see it.
I think this whole thing is. I think we're in a giant shift, Ward, right now with business. And I mean, look at what COVID did. It's kind of like, do we really have to go to work, or can we stay home, depending on the kind of business? I know you deal with a lot of restaurants, but there's all kinds of businesses, right? And a lot of people may be working at home. That does, I wonder about HR thinking, well, do I still have a job if I'm not in the corporate atmosphere? I think you still do, because there's still drama going on, and there's still harassment. Like, I know we're going to talk about sexual harassment and child abuse reporting, but even with this Family Rights Act, we've got to look at people maybe working at home and still need to go and take care of somebody, but please don't call me while I'm caring for an elder and, caregiving is really, really hard. And so this, I just really want to kind of go back into the world is changing with how we do business, but when you look at the California Family Rights Act, it's there for a reason, and just I want to touch base so that everybody knows who is eligible for this, because we look at people maybe filling in for the person that was is taking off this leave, but the people that were there they had to be employed there for 12 months, right?
Yeah, the minimum is 12 months, and then and that can be actually spaced out over a period of time. Not necessarily in 1 year. But, typically it would be 1 year. And then they've had to work a minimum of 1,250 hours during the past 12 months. And then that person would be eligible for this type of leave.
Okay.
And
and how long do they get the leave for?
Well, the maximum leave you can get is 12 weeks in a year, and the employer gets to define what the year is, and I think most employers choose calendar year.
Wow.
So but there's different ways to define that year. But if you assume a calendar year, then yes, you can get up to 12 weeks every calendar year for again serious health conditions or something similar to that.
Okay, so
wow.
let's talk about who is eligible other than the 12-month period. You're talking about the actual employee can take it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what if you're
It doesn't have
pregnant?
to be taken all at once. It can be broken up into smaller segments.
The pregnancy thing comes up in your article like twice here. So like apparently it's like one of those things that if you already have a discount, you can't take the other discount. You know what I mean? You can't
Well,
put them
sort
together.
of. Yeah. No, this leave isn't counted against pregnancy leave in California, but once your pregnancy leave is over, and now you have a baby, you can use the 12 weeks of CFRA leave, the California Family Rights Act leave, for baby bonding. So you can actually get both.
Wow.
But
Oh, you
just for
can
different
take it.
reasons.
It's a BOGO.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But that's
what those
important,
things
yeah.
in the article are saying, this does not affect your right to pregnancy leave.
So if you were about to employ somebody, you might decide to employ a male rather than a female based on that.
Well, no. Wait, because men get involved in this too, right? And do you have to disclose about because men can take pregnancy leave to bond with the child, as I recall.
Well,
I'm
not
sorry,
pregnancy
Ward.
leave.
No, that can't be the
Not
pregnancy.
Okay. Well, you know what I mean.
But they can use the California Family Rights Act leave to bond with a child. Yes, that's true.
Okay, so and especially if maybe the mom and them are split up, and you never know what's going on. But okay, so the men thing, I see what you're saying, Nancy. You're
Yeah.
I know where you're going, this feminist.
No,
but
I get it. I'm just thinking that if you're about to employ somewhere and you have two people that are equal in ability, one's a male and one's a female, and you are cognizant of these laws, you might lean towards the male because the female could get pregnant, and now you have to do all these law things. Whereas,
can you? Yeah.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Is that
What if you lie about your
Well,
pregnancy?
yeah, of course that would be discrimination, but
Yeah.
the question would be, can you prove it? And it could be very hard to prove. And I think Nancy brings up a good point. I think employers would tend to favor employing men because of that. I think that's valid.
So the law is kind of discriminatory.
But no, but you have to be there for 12 months, and it takes 9 months of gestation. Yeah. Okay, so like gestation. Now I feel like we're in biology.
I know, but I'm just saying at the face of employing someone, and you know that 9 months down the road, the person may become pregnant, and now this law comes into effect.
Or even 5 years down the road. Yeah. At some point. You know, a man's never going to get pregnant. So
and then it could be. Well, there was that one guy who tried, right? But anyway, there was. But now it's like women, like, okay, no, I'm just fat. I'm going in for my job. I'm just like over. That was a wrong thing to say, right? Now I'm going to get in trouble for discrimination. No, I'm overweight and I'm not pregnant, but I really am. And how hard is it to get a job if you're pregnant, right? That is like a whole other thing. They already know you're going to bail, so you're stuck with temporary jobs, like majority of the time. Some companies are open, but some aren't, depending on, you could be a really top agent spy, and you could get in. You could be a top spy for the world, and somebody will hire you even if you're pregnant because you're so good at it. But if you're pregnant as a woman trying to get a job, it's very difficult to get a job. Yeah, nobody wants to hire you, so you just pretend you're overweight. Just saying.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to ask about it either.
Yeah, see?
Oh, so you can't say, are you pregnant or are you just overweight?
No, you can't do that. You can't do that. No. I'm in trouble now for what I just said. I know, but I'm being honest. I'm sticking up for the woman here. It's like, hello, I may need to make some money, and but anyway. So, okay, so the pregnancy thing. Now, the other part is you added in here is about adoption and foster care placement. So if someone, fostered a child or adopted a child, you can take this leave?
Yes, you can. So it's bonding. It's either baby bonding or foster care or adoption, yes, you can use that for bonding.
Okay,
Well,
and
that
then
makes sense. I mean, that does make sense.
yeah, you do, and it's also about caring for. Pretty much, it looks like is anybody that needs health care in your family.
Well, serious health condition, so it has to meet that requirement. But if you do meet that requirement, then yes, you can use you can take time off of work to help someone in your family, and that goes all the way down to grandchildren, all the way up to grandparents. So it's your extended family, and includes siblings, even siblings who are adults.
Okay, and then you also talk about registered domestic partner. You register? I didn't know about this, so sorry.
Well, in California, you can. All right, so what California tries to avoid is someone saying, well, that's my domestic partner, and they're not that serious about it. So if you're registered, then you qualify for this leave. If you're not registered, then you wouldn't qualify for the leave.
Okay.
So is this about people who are not married and just living together?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And of same-sex marriage, because not marriage now, it's legal, but back in the day it wasn't legal. And you look at what happened with Michael and Spider, where he was, married, like they were together for 39 years, and then Spider dies, and they were a partnership in house, home, business, everything, and he's not allowed to draw on his Social Security. Michael couldn't take, it went all the way to the Supreme Court.
No, I think it was really that he wasn't allowed to get the life insurance or something.
He got that, but he wasn't able to do the Social Security when his spouse has died, and they had married right when Arizona made it legal, and they said, well, he's only been married for 6 months, and Spider died at the 6-month mark, and they had been together for over 30 years. I mean, everybody could testify it. And it's like they've been together for so long, and they weren't legally allowed to be married, but there wasn't any legal registration of it. So I feel like that part of registering, that's why I was interested, is like, wow, maybe that would help people in California that maybe went through the same thing as Michael and Spider with that. Anyway, I know I'm going off topic there, but it's actually something important, I think. Can we do something on that, Ward, down the road?
Like registering as a domestic partner?
Yeah, because I think it's,
Well, sure, we could. I mean,
yeah.
We'd have to talk about the theme and.
Yeah. Well, I know because
in California now, well, across the country, I think you can get married to same sex, and that's where it started. Was if you're same sex, at least we can have this registry. But I think it's. I don't remember, but didn't they say in the Supreme Court that everyone can get married now?
I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, but then
I lost track.
Okay, but sometimes the federal law says something that state law goes no way, not happening in our state.
Yeah, you taught us that. Yeah, that's the thing.
So then there could be a clash between the state law and the federal law.
Stay tuned for round 2.
Yeah. Well, federal law is supreme, so it almost always trumps it. So.
Okay.
But California, we've been able to marry same sex for a while now. So.
Yeah.
It's not as important here.
Okay. So he's like, okay, I'm not doing it now. Okay, so let's keep going because the employees on the CFRA, too, it also goes into the military. Okay, so I know that's also, too, about covered active duty, right? That is another part where someone can take leave.
Well, if your spouse or brother or, it's still that broad or grandparent or, whatever, is on leave, then you get to, it's not on leave, is on active duty. And if they get time off, then you can use the California Family Rights Act to get time off too and be with them.
That's nice. Come on, that's
it's nice,
I think
for
that's
the
really important.
But for an employee, I can see where this causes some.
Yeah, but it's like, you've got to almost factor it in when you start a business. You need to know this,
Yeah.
and I think, and it changes even when you start a business. All of this can change at any point, right? And
well, will this change? I don't think so. So this is not going to change. Maybe it'll broaden. So for this, I think I misspoke a little bit. For this, it's just for spouses, domestic partner, a child or a parent. That doesn't extend to grandparents and grandchildren, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But later, I don't think this is going to go away. What will happen is they might say, well, what about your grandfather? Can he come see his grandchild who's on leave now? So they may expand it to that. That would be possible. But I don't think it's going to go away.
I think the whole CFRA, the California Family Rights Act, though, is there a way do you see any bills coming in to help the small businesses buffer this and work, like any, government funding to help the businesses in some way, just to even get through the change? That's my point on this. We can make all these changes, but there's so many changes on the businesses' shoulders that I know that businesses, good, businesses with, integrity want their employees to be happy and healthy and, sustainable. They want to be able to live in a nice home and be healthy. People shouldn't be living in squalor and working in squalor. You know what I mean? So I think people should have all these things, but a small business may not be able to handle it all as these things just keep piling on their shoulders. So is there a way for the government to help the small business, or do you see any kind of bill come in down the pipeline to help the small businesses? Because at the end, this will hurt the economy either way, and at the same time, it needs to help the employee. But if the businesses go away over something like this, where are we left?
Yeah, I don't know of any bill that's going to rescue small businesses from this burden. And normally what we see when we saw it with AB 5, legislature said, wow, this is cutting out so many jobs and affecting so many industries. We're going to have to make more exemptions. So maybe they'll do that, make more exemptions. But, the sexual harassment training has been around for a while, and that's very similar. If you had 50 or more, you had to do the training, and then they reduced it down to 5 or more. And there you haven't, they've pushed off the date by which you must have the training done for small businesses, but it's still there. And so I'm guessing you're not going to see any relief on this stuff. And this is just going to be one of those things.
Well, don't take any extra cookies out of the cookie jar right now until you are able to handle this, right? As a small business, it's important that you do this.
Who provides the training? The state?
All right. Well, training. Now we're leaving CFRA because there's no training for that. So now we're talking about sexual harassment training.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of online places that offer it, and that's where I see most of my clients going. I can do it, but I'm more expensive. Usually, it depends on how many times they have to pay for it. But there is free training on the FEHA, the Fair Employment and Housing Commission. So you can actually get it done free. Now the question is, can you certify it, and are these people following through, and all that kind of thing. But once you get over those issues, it's actually possible to get it free. And same with the child abuse reporting for businesses that have minors. There's training there too, but that can be done on a website for free.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you go and do this. You need to do the training. But so basically, California's like, okay, we're taking care of our people. This is what's going on. And the sexual harassment training, so that's like 5, at least 5 employees. Before that was a little bit more, I think, from our years of conversation. Now it was a little bit more. So now that employers have to retrain their workers every 2 years too, and give new employees training within 6 months on the job.
That's always actually been part of the legislation, but the difference now is it applies to smaller businesses.
That's important. I think that's an important thing. I've worked in small businesses, and sometimes they're the worst with that. No offense, but just saying, they've been there. It's like, oh yeah, you can come work in the small family restaurant and like, hey, can I pinch your butt? No, you may not. So it's an important thing. The child abuse reporting and training. This is something I want to get around this. So is this for places that kids are working in, and then the employees or the employer see that, oh, this kid must have been abused, or are they being abused on the job?
No, it's if you see that someone has the outer indicia of being abused, then you're supposed to report it. And the legislation on this is actually pretty old, but they included, there's like, before this year, there were like 38, 39 different categories of reporters, mostly in education and child care, and things related, athletics. So when you dealt with children, they had all these categories of people who are dealing with children on a regular basis that they would have to look out for this stuff. And some of them were required to train and some of them weren't. But what's changed now is they're saying, all right, businesses that are small, in fact, even big businesses before weren't required to do training unless they fit into one of those categories. But now if you have 5 or more employees and you have minors who are employed, you have to train the people who are in contact with those kids. If it's HR, if you have HR, they have to be trained. And if they're a supervisor or they work with a kid a lot, they have to be trained. And that's only just to see. It's not necessarily abuse of a minor on the job. I mean, I guess that could happen, but the real idea behind it is, well, does this child look like maybe they've been abused? And if you've got the right training, you can maybe figure that out a little bit better. And then the training also teaches you how to report it properly.
Oh, and that's a huge difference than what happened years ago in life. When someone reported it, it can actually make it worse for the abused, the child that's being abused. So I think it's always that whole battle. It's like, do you report this or not? Is it going to make it worse for the kid? And a lot of times back in the day, it did. And so I think everyone's kind of stepping up on that game and understanding this is a widespread problem. And it can be not just bruises on a child, but it could be just in their way of communication and speaking and level of self-confidence.
Say something too.
Mm-hmm.
They might say something. Because sometimes bosses call you in and they giving you a review and they ask you all these questions and you might say something that leads them to, this person is in trouble. Yeah.
Well, some kids are doing things. I think all kids need to get out there and work. That's my personal opinion. Get out there, start getting your, cashiering or whatever you want to, do something to get those skills in. But some kids are out there because they're stashing money to get the hell out. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm getting out of this situation. So you never know,
But the problem with this is I think it's going to encourage businesses to not employ minors.
It's the same as the men and the women thing.
Here we go again. Yep.
Yeah.
And if minors don't have jobs, I mean, they're going to be the 30-year-old in your basement with the video games.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, I really, we'll have to wait and see what effect it has on employment of minors, but it's certainly something that there's. I talk to small business people all the time, and I haven't talked to them about this, but if they do, it's the type of thing where they'll roll their eyes. They'll go, oh no, another thing I got to do, figure out, do training for, la-di-da-da. And so if they have I'm really sure there's going to be businesses that go, I'm just not going to do this. It's just not worth it. So, and how big of a problem that's going to be, I don't know. I have no idea.
I can see them opting for seniors on Social Security that are allowed to make up to so much per state, depending on where you live, and them going in and having a part-time job and having an older person versus a younger person.
That could really happen that way.
And then there's discrimination with that too. But it's interesting what's happening in California. I mean, it was kind of quiet there for a while, Ward, but now what the heck? It's all like, hello, we're doing all this now. We're changing this, changing that. So it's interesting what's happening there. And I want everyone to be happy, but that's not the way the world works. So I just hope businesses can, manage through this. And I think it's really cool that you're doing this, doing the show, writing the articles, and letting people know about it, because the more you know as a business owner, as soon as you can get the heads up, you can start planning and preparing and making changes as you need to.
Forewarned is forearmed.
Yeah, exactly. Education is power. So, very cool. So, listen, Ward, have a wonderful start to spring. Everyone, Ward's article is up on blendradioandtv.com. You'll also see it in Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. And keep up with Ward at bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. And the cool things about Ward is if you are in a situation or wondering about something, whether you're an employee or an employer who works with both sides, you can call him and he will give you a free consultation, right, Ward? You better not back off on that now.
No, absolutely. I absolutely do that.
I'm saying that. He could have said, no, that's it. No more free consultations for you. No, okay, wonderful. Wonderful, because, how do you know if it's the right case, or, can you help them? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I
think that's great.
You have to invest a little time to figure out what's going on, no doubt.
You're right. And you can also keep up with Ward on Twitter and Facebook. And, of course, keep listening to us here on Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com. We always love to play music, and this is an interesting song. It's like, hey, hey, California. Is it, hey, hey, what are you doing? Or are you doing good? Or what? But here it is. It's called Hey, Hey, California from our friends at Everett Coast. So here is the song. So thank you so much, Ward.
All right.
You take care.
Thanks, Ward.
You too. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hoping you know how far I would go for your love. You think you've seen it all before. I'm gonna show you that I can't outgrow you, darling. You leave me wanting more. But now I'm far away in East Tennessee. I just need another drink in front of me. It's been a long damn ride across the country, and it'll be a long damn time till I come home. I'm plucking petals off of flowers. It's been 8 months, 3 days, 2 hours. Every moment I miss you more. But baby, when I get home, I know we'll pick up where we left off. And this show I'm living in will come to a close till I'm back out on the road. But now I'm far away in East Tennessee. I just need another drink in front of me. It's been a long damn ride across the country, and it'll be a long damn time till I come home. On the horizon, only one thing on my mind is I sing, hey, hey, California. Counting county lines and street signs, anything to pass the time as I sing, hey, hey, California.